Hey review family, so just a little bit of a preface going forward. I know that pandas are my mascot. I love pandas, it's pretty evident. So now we have a panda mascot. I've yet to pick out a name or even a gender, but we'll pick that out later. Hey review family, keep it tight. My name is Jay Morris, the review guy, reviewing music for the love of music, and I'm back again to bring you another video. And in this one, I'm going to be covering the new BTS record entitled Map of the Soul 7. Suga V, RM, Jin, and Jungkook, J-Hope, the boys are back. The Bangtan bulletproof Boy Scouts themselves. BTS, K-pop phenomenon, worldwide trendsetters, whatever you want to call them. At this point, you've heard about them, you know about them. You're either an army or you're not an army, or you're just a stan, or you're somebody that just likes them. There is a lot of terminology. People continue to discredit BTS as time goes on, as they continue to set records and set more and more records as their fan base just tenaciously devours everything. And I think a lot of that is because people are misinformed about their trajectory. A lot of the K-pop idol industry is insanely groomed, insanely fabricated, insanely disturbing in the way they're very manipulative and pretty much abusive or borderline abusive. And while it's not so different than what we have here in the United States, it is vastly different of a whole landscape. BTS has had to contend with everything under the sun since their humble beginnings. And compared to a lot of other K-pop idols, which I don't want to discredit anyone, they're found through talent agencies nowadays, they're found through talent shows and different contests. They go out and seek talent because the K-pop industry is so booming now that they know when they need to get fresh meat or a fresh group, they need a pretty face, they need an aesthetic, they need a sound, and so they want to prop up a figurehead to be that sound, to be that aesthetic. Whereas BTS, they were just normal people living normal lives, and sometimes depressive lives. And I think a lot of this record and just their whole artistic progression can be really summed up with one line from the track We Are Bulletproof, the Eternal, obviously a callback to one of their original tracks, We Are Bulletproof, and part 2, which is We Were Only 7, but now we have you all. Or I should say, but we have you all now, or something along those lines. And to quote J-Hope in that video on the airplane, my poor heart too, my heart too. I'll be completely blunt. Wasn't that big of a fan of Persona. There were some bangers on that track listing. I think Boy With Love was a single that had a lot of poignancy, a really good dance. I like the whole aesthetic rollout of the record and the packaging. But for a BTS record, it just was missing something that all of their previous records and EPs had previously had. I think a lot of the tracks were fairly weak on Persona, especially like Microcosmos. I think Jamais Vu was beautiful, but bogged down by some really odd things. I think Dionysus, while it was a banger, got a little bit repetitive after a while, and like I said before, Boy With Love fizzled out in terms of being the big mainstay single. And Home is one of the most uniform BTS tracks that have ever been created. I was a little worried going into 7, I won't lie. Logistically, I was worried about it. Thematically, I was worried about it, considering that they are constantly working, they're constantly pumping out things, they're constantly going on tours, they're constantly practicing day in, day out choreography, constantly making music. It's just insane. And that's not even going into the whole press thing and the pre-op stuff. And considering that this record is a very long album, I mean, yes, you are getting 5 tracks from Persona, which I'm not sure why they're here. You're getting 15 brand new tracks. And for the most part, I will say for the most part, this is exactly what I was wanting to see from BTS and what I was wanting to hear them do. It's simultaneously more somber at times. It has some reminiscent and nostalgic qualities to the early material that I will go into in this review, and I'm curious to see if you guys feel the same way about it. I'll get a couple of the tracks right out of the way that just don't click with me that much, and honestly remind me a lot of why Persona didn't click with me. Filter and My Time are probably my 2 least favorite tracks. The guitar on Filter is surely unique, and the insanely ambient and beautiful drop on My Time is borderline orgasmic. But as a whole, I just can't latch myself onto either of these tracks as things that are like, this is mainstay BTS, this is drop dead, breathtaking, have to listen to. They almost feel like filler, which I don't blame BTS for it. They're not a sole offender of this. Just a bit uniform in the presentation, the beat, the general theme, the type of thing that BTS usually likes to pack in around the middle section of a record, and they're basically essential, if not inconsequential. Bluntly put, I think some of the more upbeat and bubbly tracks are some of the ones that feel more instrumentally scant, and I'm not commenting on lyrics right now, I'm just commenting on instrumental. Usually they feel a little bit more cookie cutter on this record by the band's standards, and even lacking some of the very, very exuberant energy that you were getting on Persona, even if it didn't always pan out and sometimes felt a little disingenuine. I think it's when they dive into deeper topics, they delve into cloudier beats, and a more overcast production style that they excel on this record. For a stark contrast, I'll compare the tracks Moon and Louder Than Bombs. All in all, both are fairly simple. Moon, I do want to like this track, but it just feels a little bit like bubblegum. You chew it out, it bursts with flavor, but then it fizzles out very quickly after a couple of listens, or at least for me. Maybe you guys feel differently, which is perfectly fine. Whereas, even though Louder Than Bombs is just as simple, I just love this combination and how they present this trip-hop and R&B flair that is mixed and compressed with this crunchy percussion. The rapping is just claustrophobic, and the reverb singing is absolutely soaring! And I just have to say, I love the ad-libs that linger around in the background. They embellish the quality of this track really, really well on RM Suga and J-Hope's verses. They sound so restrained, but so ice-cold at the same time. I feel like I should talk about the two big hitters, the two big singles for this record, Black Swan and On. Black Swan's laden guitar beat with the trap drums make it feel a lot like a vibe for the most part. On release, it was one of my least favorite comebacks that BTS had ever done. I supported it, obviously, and I enjoyed it on first listen, but it just really, really lost a lot of its speed really quickly for me, a lot of the throttle and the same energy, or at least the same power and finesse that a lot of the other tracks that they came back with had. But one thing that kept getting me is how mainstream publications kept praising this track for the dark theme. And while I do agree with them there that it is one of the more emo hip-hop and cloud rap inspired tracks that BTS has done, there is no excuse to completely bypass the fact that they've had other tracks that are a lot darker and, in my opinion, a lot more powerful. Take Outro Tear from Rapline, or even if you're wanting to talk comebacks, if you don't even want to go into deep cuts, Fake Love, for God's sake. It's one of the most Deep Purple and dingy tracks that BTS has ever written from a lyrical point of view. So to latch on to this track just because it's the newest, just because you want a bandwagon, back that up, sisters. I much prefer On in comparison. I think they do a really good job of using the spacing of this track. I'm only talking about the version that is on the record, not the bonus track with Sia. I think the percussion is a lot akin to Not Today. Even the production on it sounds a lot like Not Today. And they do use embellishments to kind of use up this space to make it feel like a very full mix, which I do appreciate, and something that I think Black Swan to some degree lacks. It just feels really tense. Now, there are a couple other portions that I do want to talk about that I think are kind of important to highlight. Firstly, you got some solo tracks. They kick ass, what can you say? Interlude Shadow is one of the more repetitive tracks that BTS has done for an interlude or for an intro or an outro, but if Suga doesn't fucking slay this track like he was made for it, I don't know what to say. I don't know what you want from him. How could you want more from him? I don't even stan him, and when this came out, I was like, wow, he's really gonna come out here and be the homewrecker of my bias list. Like, calm the hell down. Calm down, Suga. Calm down. J-Hope kills it on Outro Ego. I love the booming beat. It really does fit his vibe a lot. And Inner Child, V's solos track, it really does highlight that he is feeling more comfortable with himself. He's feeling more comfortable in his own skin. It's like he's not being afraid to expose his emotions, and I've seen that trajectory through all of their albums when V does get some solo material. He really is growing not only as an artist, but as a person, and being able to relinquish that vulnerability and allow his own emotions to coincide with his art, and putting aside the fact that he is an idol in arguably the biggest K-pop band that exists. And I guess one more thing that I want to mention is how there's even quite a few tracks on here that give me the impression of old BTS. I'm literally talking like School Love Affair and Dark and Wild BTS. Especially Ugh. Rap line tears across this track like fucking beasts. Rap line tears it apart 100% with zany performances, especially Suga. Very fast flows, very quick flows, sometimes wacky flows, sometimes steady flows. You're getting these gang vocals, you're getting a very heavy and distorted beat. And Respect to me even has the same energy and exuberance of something you could have gotten off of Dark and Wild. I mean, if this was sitting beside War of Hormone on a track listing, I wouldn't question it. So this isn't a perfect track listing. There are quite a few tracks that I'm a little bit iffy on, but for the most part, it is an extremely strong BTS record for their canon. I wish that the 5 tracks from Persona wouldn't have been on here. I don't think it was necessary. I think it does bloat the record unnecessarily. And even though I do always appreciate what the band does in terms of their length, and always more BTS is better than none, getting their lyrical themes, I appreciate it. I appreciate their production, but there are quite a few tracks on here that just feel like BTS is kind of running their wheels in the mud. And even if their lyrics do have something to present, they're not doing anything of clear substance in the song itself. But otherwise, I do enjoy this record. I like it a lot more than Persona, and it's getting really close to tier and enjoyment levels, and maybe some of the tracks that I didn't like will grow on me. Otherwise, I'm going to be giving this album a 7.5 out of 10. And that is a wrap. Have you heard this new BTS record, Map of the Soul 7? If you have, let me know in the comment section below what you thought about it. I would love to discuss the record with you. Maybe you liked it more than me, less than me, whatever. I'd love to hear it. Be sure to stay for the end screen. I'll link to videos that you might be interested in. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to join the review family today and smash that notification bell to be notified of my future uploads. You know who it is. My name is Jay Moore's 3D Guy, and I'm signing off saying farewell.
Go ahead, live your best life.